No one likes being uncomfortable, but is it possible to be comfortable with being uncomfortable? Welcome everybody, I'm Matt. If you're new to this channel, we study inspiring people and produce motivational content to help you on your personal growth and success journey. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. You'll get notifications for new videos every week. Let's get real, guys. Nobody likes those awkward, uncomfortable, anxious, overwhelming situations that just seem to happen in life. It could be when you're at a party, you're on a first date, you start a new job, you try to set up your own business. We all have these situations, and how do they normally pan out? Let's take the example of starting a new job. It's your first day in this company. You're just out of university, early 20s. You walk up to the door, you're about to open the doorknob, and you realize, God, my hands are pretty sweaty, aren't they? Come to think of it, actually, yeah, so is my forehead. They're probably gonna think I jogged here. Maybe the sweat marks are coming through your shirt, and you're nervous. You're nervous on that first day, and you get introduced to 50 people in the first 2 hours, all of whose names you completely forget except for the first two, and one of them was because it was your own name. And that's not even the worst part of it. No. It gets worse. The worst part is you're in your first meeting. You feel like it's a really important meeting. There's important people there, and you're listening as hard as you can. You're trying so hard to pay attention, but you have no idea what's being said. There's so many acronyms, there's abbreviations, there's words you haven't heard since you were in school or since you were in college, and you're like, yeah, I probably should know what that means, but yeah, I'm not quite sure. And then at some point somebody looks at you and says, hey, do you follow that? And you go, oh yeah, totally. Do you know that feeling? I mean, I certainly do. It happens to so many of us. But when we have this feeling of overwhelm, of uncomfortableness, of awkwardness, there are things that we can do about it. Often when we start doing something that makes us really uncomfortable, that's when the self-doubt will start creeping in. You might start thinking, you know what, this isn't for me, this job isn't for me, this entrepreneurship thing isn't for me, self-employed isn't for me, dating isn't for me, nightclubs, bars aren't for me. The idea of quitting hovers in our minds. We think maybe I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. We can be so hard on ourselves. We're our own biggest critics. When we feel these things, it's easy to suffer from imposter syndrome. That's when you feel like maybe you're in a job and you shouldn't really be there, like you're a fraud, like you managed to blag your way through the interview and someone's gonna suddenly find you out. They're gonna realize, hey, you're not the person we thought we hired. So how do we deal with these overwhelming, awkward, uncomfortable situations? Well, there's 3 steps we need to take. The first one is to stop comparing yourself to others. This is a killer. It's absolutely in our nature to compare ourselves to other people, but the reality is it just doesn't help. It's gonna breed self-doubt. It's a losing game to play. The more you compare yourself with other people, you're putting too much pressure, too much expectation on yourself, because what are you probably doing? You're comparing yourself to other people who are further along on that path, who have maybe more experience, and it's going to drag your confidence down. The reality is there's always going to be someone who's smarter, who's better looking, who's stronger, who's faster, who insert whatever you're trying to do. Even the best in the world at any particular thing, they're only in that position for a very limited amount of time. If you can't be comfortable not being the best, not being the top of the pile, you better get used to being uncomfortable almost 100% of the time. The thing is, when we compare ourselves to other people, we're probably not doing it that favorably. You're probably flicking through Instagram and you're seeing people who are exceptional at very particular parts of life. Maybe they're in great shape. And then you're saying, well, why haven't I in great shape? I mean, what's wrong with me? But the thing is, we never know. When we look at one isolated part of somebody's life, we never really know what they had to sacrifice to get there. And because of that, because we don't know anyone else's specific circumstance, the only fair comparison to make really is with yourself. Today's you versus yesterday's you. And the thing is, if you start tracking how you're doing and comparing yourself to the previous versions of yourself, you'll start to realize that you're actually making a lot of progress. that you are really making big improvements. And the problem with it is we're often almost blind to the progress we make because, for example, for something like losing weight, it happens gradually. And because we look at ourselves every day, we don't really notice the improvements. But what happens when you bump into someone you haven't seen in, say, 6 months and say the person's lost 20 pounds? The first thing they say is, wow, you look great. Have you lost weight? And it's so obvious to them because they've only seen this current version of you versus this 6-month-old you. And the difference is stark between the two. But for you, you've been having those little 1% increments that sort of go under the radar. If you track your own progress, you will realize how much you're actually making. And then you'll be making a fair comparison. Today's you versus yesterday's you. And the more we stop comparing ourselves to other people and start comparing ourselves to the previous versions of ourselves, the more confident we're going to get because we see our own progress. But on top of that, we stop putting this unrealistic expectation, this unrealistic pressure on ourselves to live up to some standard of another person whose circumstance we just don't know. And if we do that, we will become less uncomfortable, less awkward in all different kinds of situations and start being more comfortable with being ourselves, with being you. And the second thing you need to do to just stop being so uncomfortable in different situations is whenever you're in a situation, whatever your goal is or however you'd like it to go, break down the objective as small as you need to until it feels achievable. When you're in that uncomfortable or awkward situation, part of the issue is that you are trying to do too much at once. You're putting too much pressure on yourself to do maybe a range of different things in that situation. So for example, say you're doing a big presentation, it's in front of 30 people, you're really nervous about it, you're trying to write it, but you have a mental block because it just feels like such a big project to do. Just focus on writing the next slide. If you're still overwhelmed, think about the next paragraph. Still overwhelmed? Focus on just doing the next sentence. Keep breaking things down until it's something you feel like you can achieve. If you wanted to ask somebody out on a date and you were nervous, the idea of asking them out might be too much. But what about just talking to them? Or just saying hi? Something similar happened to me starting this YouTube channel. I mean, initially I was thinking, oh yeah, you start a YouTube channel, that sounds like a good idea. It's probably straightforward enough. And then the more I dig into it, there's one thing after another. Lighting, editing, filming, social media, marketing, all these things I knew absolutely nothing about. So easy to become overwhelmed or uncomfortable with the whole situation. It feels like such a big project. But the only way to get through it is to chunk it down into these smaller sections, smaller manageable sections. And then slowly, brick by brick, piecing it together. And these small tasks over time yield big results. And the third step to help us in uncomfortable situations is to change our perspective. All the most worthwhile things I've ever done in my life were hard. They were challenging. They made me uncomfortable. Some of them made me awkward. They pushed me to my limit. I had to fight for them. But being uncomfortable, it can often actually be a good thing because it means you're testing out your limits against the world. And it means that whatever you're doing means enough to you to actually make you care. If we learn to lean into discomfort, the more you do it, the more you're going to be able to excel in difficult situations. Counterintuitively, if we reframe how we view discomfort and stop seeing it as something that we need to avoid, but something we actually actively seek out because we learn from it, we might actually get to a point where we start to enjoy it. And then we don't have so much of an issue with being uncomfortable, with being awkward. We start seeing it as just being okay, just as a natural part of life. It means we're learning, it means we're developing, it means we're growing. So a quick recap, how do we deal with uncomfortable, awkward, overwhelming situations? Well, step one is to stop comparing yourself to other people. Only compare yourself to yourself, today's you versus yesterday's you. When you do this, it will allow you to focus on your own progress, and that will increase your confidence. Step two, whatever the objective of the situation is, break that down as small as it needs to be so that it feels achievable. And the final step, step 3, change your perspective. See discomfort as a good thing. It means that you're growing, you're doing something you care about, you're developing as a person. If you follow these steps, you're going to perform better in these awkward, overwhelming, or uncomfortable situations. You'll be someone who thrives in it. It's also going to reduce your anxiety and stress levels. You're going to be happier, a more confident, a more reassured person. And you'll start to feel comfortable with the uncomfortable. Let me know in the comments below, are you somebody who is comfortable with uncomfortable situations? I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button. Definitely subscribe. If you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. Now, I'd really appreciate it if you do. If there are any topics, YouTube channels, or YouTubers you'd like to see me cover, let me know in the comments below. That's it for me, guys. I'm Matt. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.